trusted, respected, a decorated corrections officer with a spotless record. But on April 29th, 2022, Vicky White vanished, with a convicted killer by her side. For 11 days, they ran, across 6 states, dodging police, living in disguise. What drove her to risk everything? Was it love or manipulation? This is the story of Vicky White, the escape that shocked America, and the tragic ending that left everyone asking, why?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a story that gripped a nation, a tale of unexpected twists and unanswered questions that still puzzle us years later. Get ready to explore the extraordinary and ultimately tragic events. The Quiet Storm. The story of Vicky White. Who was Vicky White? Vicky Sue Davis was born on August 19, 1965, in Alabama. From the outside, her life seemed steady, even ordinary. She married Tommy White in 2002, but their union unraveled just 4 years later, strained by his struggle with drug addiction. Yet even after the divorce, they remained close, proof of Vicky's loyalty and compassion. Frances White, her ex-mother-in-law, would later say that Vicky helped with Tommy's care after their divorce because he suffered from Parkinson's. Later, she found love again, only to lose her fiancé in a tragic car accident before they could marry. She never had children. Instead, Vicky poured herself into her work. For 17 years, she served at the Lauderdale County Detention Center in Florence, Alabama, rising to the rank of assistant director. 4 times, she was named Employee of the Year. Sheriff Rick Singleton would later say, "Most people don't last that long. That is very commendable." Her colleagues described her as tireless, working 50 to 60 hours a week, always ready to solve problems or lend a hand. Inmates spoke of her with surprising warmth, saying she treated them as human beings. She was firm but kind, professional but deeply human. She just wanted to take care of everybody. But who's taking care of Vicky? That question would haunt many. In April 2022, Vicky stunned her team by announcing her retirement. A month earlier, she had sold her house for $95,000, less than half its value, and moved in with her mother. Then came the purchases. Several firearms bought over months from a Walmart in Huntsville. Something was shifting beneath the surface. The woman who had spent nearly 2 decades keeping order was now quietly unraveling. She was the picture of professionalism, someone colleagues trusted implicitly, known for her dedication and calm demeanor. Her retirement was just days away, a golden parachute after years of faithful service. On the other side, Casey Cole White was born on August 20th, 1983. Towering at 6'9", he was hard to miss, and even harder to forget. His body bore tattoos of Confederate flags and horror symbols, a chilling reflection of the violence that marked his life. By the time Casey met Vicky White at the Lauderdale County Detention Center, he was already deep into a decade-long spiral of crime. In 2012, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison for brutally beating his own brother with the handle of an axe sledgehammer. That was just the beginning. No one, not a single person, suspected there could be any connection between them, let alone a romantic one. Until the escape. The sheer unlikeliness of their pairing is what makes this case so utterly captivating and, frankly, baffling. How could someone like Vicky White, so by the book, become involved with someone like Casey White? The narrative seems almost unbelievable, like something out of a Hollywood script. In 2016, Casey was convicted of 7 out of 15 charges tied to a terrifying crime spree the year before: carjacking, robbery, home invasion, and attempted murder. One of the most harrowing incidents came on December 1st, 2015. Danny Abernathy, a close friend of Casey's ex-girlfriend, had offered her and her children a safe place to stay. That night, Danny, his boyfriend, and their dog Missy were settling in to watch a movie when the ex-girlfriend burst into the bedroom, panicked. "Casey's here, with guns!" she cried. Casey shoved her into the room, wielding 2 firearms, one aimed at Danny, the other at his boyfriend. "Get down now," he ordered. Danny bowed his head and began to pray. "I saw his fingers on the trigger," he later recalled. "I knew I was going to die." But Missy, their loyal dog, heard the chaos and lunged at Casey's left arm. That moment of distraction gave the ex-girlfriend a chance to flee out the back door. Casey chased her. Danny and his boyfriend escaped through the window, sprinting to the neighbors. As they ran, 5 gunshots rang out. Danny reached the front door. His friend reached the back. She was safe. But Missy had been shot. "If it wasn't for Missy," Danny said, "we all would have died a horrible death." Casey tried to flee in his vehicle, but crashed in the driveway. He then stormed a neighbor's home, pointed 2 guns at the resident, and stole his car. At the Tennessee Welcome Center, he attempted to carjack a young woman, shooting her in the arm. He abandoned that car, hijacked another at a gas station, and sped back to Alabama. Police chased him down the interstate. And yes, you guessed right, he crashed again. A tense standoff followed. It went on for hours. At 2 a.m., Casey was finally taken into custody. Investigators Ramsey and McNabb interviewed him. His intent was clear. He had come to kill his ex-girlfriend. District Attorney Brian Jones prosecuted the case. Casey was charged with 15 counts, including attempted murder, burglary, kidnapping, and cruelty to animals. Remember Missy the dog? Yes. He was charged for that too, which make me very happy. On February 4th, 2019, he was found guilty and sentenced to 75 years at W.E. Donaldson Correctional Facility, one of Alabama's most violent prisons. But the story didn't end there. A year later, Casey confessed to a murder committed on October 23, 2015. Connie Ridgway, a 59-year-old woman, had been stabbed to death in her living room at Meadowland Apartments in Rogersville, Alabama. Her son, Austin Williams, said, "My mom never met a person that she don't want to be friends with. She just loves everyone." Her back door was open. She had been dead for at least 24 hours. The case had gone cold until Casey told Lieutenant Brad Potts everything in August 2020. District Attorney Chris Connolly held a press conference. Casey was charged with capital murder. The death penalty was now on the table. And that's when Casey began plotting his escape, again. He had already tried once in 2020 using a homemade shank. But this time, he had help. This time, Vicky White entered the picture. Jailbreak, the escape of Vicky and Casey White. It began with a cell, A1 to be exact, where Casey White, a towering 6'9" inmate with a violent past, was placed due to overcrowding at the Lauderdale County Detention Center. That cell was under the watch of Vicky White, the respected Assistant Director of Corrections. No one suspected that behind the steel doors, a forbidden connection was forming. Inmates noticed Casey buying love cards from the commissary. Staff assumed he was writing to someone on the outside. They didn't know he was sending them to Vicky. By August 2021, the two were speaking regularly, 9:49 phone calls before their escape. Vicky, who had never been seen with a romantic partner, told co-workers in December she was juggling 2 men. No one imagined one of them was Casey. Allegations surfaced of physical intimacy inside the jail. Sheriff Rick Singleton confirmed Vicky had given Casey special privileges, extra food, extra attention. They later saw them passing notes on the surveillance systems. April 29, 2022, Vicky's last day on the job. The detention center was short-staffed, just 5 deputies on duty. Vicky was unusually quiet, even during the retirement party her colleagues threw for her. At 9:30 a.m., she had Casey brought to booking and shackled. She told staff she was taking him to a mental health evaluation at the courthouse. They left at 9:41 a.m. By 3:30 p.m., alarm bells rang. Vicky and Casey hadn't returned. Sheriff Singleton and lead investigator Matt Burbank were contacted. Surveillance footage showed Vicky walking out alone, Casey trailing behind, violating protocol. Violent inmates were never to be escorted solo. A gas station camera caught Vicky's patrol car passing just 8 minutes after they left the jail. But there were no evaluations scheduled that day. Had she been forced, or was this planned? Her patrol car was later found abandoned at a shopping center. There were no surveillance cameras at that particular spot. Vicky did her homework. The pair had switched vehicles, an orange 2007 Ford Edge. It became clear Vicky planned this. An arrest warrant was issued for Vicky, third degree permitting or facilitating an escape. The manhunt began. What could possibly drive a seemingly upstanding officer to abandon everything for a convicted murderer? The family knew Vicky had a storage unit, but don't know where it was. Sergeant Burbank eventually found the storage unit, and that's how he learned that Vicky had a burner phone because it was a totally different number on the paperwork. They tried to track her on the burner phone, but they found nothing. Vicky was good at it. 3 days before the escape, someone saw Vicky at a Rogersville shopping center. From there, she walked 4 miles to bought a car, 2007 Ford Edge. She gave a fake name, Renee Marie Maxwell. Vicky had access to internal police databases. 6 days before escape, she looked up names from former inmates, took their pictures, and made false IDs. 3 days before escape, Vicky do a test run. Look for the date stamp on the photo. She told the jail Casey had to see the judge at court. They were away for 11 minutes, so she knows she could do it. On day 8, they found the Ford Edge abandoned on a rural road in Williamson County, Tennessee. They towed the car to their impound. They actually ditched the car on the day of the escape. U.S. Marshals searched the area. They discovered a Ford F-150 was purchased from someone nearby. They searched for the wrong car for more than a week. Eventually, they reached Evansville, Indiana. There, they paid a houseless sex offender to book a motel room for 14 days. While they were on the run, there was a viral TikTok from a woman that claimed her mother, Christy Shelton, who had died in 2008, who was ruled a suicide. But when she died, she was alone with Casey. Her daughter always thought it was suspicious. Limestone County reopened the case. They could find no evidence as of yet that Casey is responsible for her demise. May 3, 2022. James Stinton, the manager of a Weinbach car wash in Evansville, Indiana, found a truck. The keys were in the ignition. It ran perfectly, but something was just off. Abandoned cars weren't new to him, but this one was too clean, too new. It felt intentional. He checked the surveillance footage and saw it all. Someone ditched the truck, and another car swooped in to pick them up before vanishing. The next day, James called the police. They ran the plates, but nothing came up. Meanwhile, back in Alabama, investigators got a hit. The truck's license plate had been searched from Evansville. This was their first big break. Back at the car wash, James, now following the news, decided to look up the fugitive Vicky White. He saw a photo, and his blood ran cold. The man in the picture had the same distinct tattoo on his left arm as the man who had ditched the truck. It was him. An Evansville Police Department detective driving home, as he passed Motel 41, he saw a gray Cadillac, the same one Casey get in after he ditched the truck. Sheriff Dave Wedding, Vanderburgh County Sheriff get a team together, deputy marshals and task force members. Set up close to Motel 41, unmarked vehicles, plainclothes officers, some are waiting in the parking lot for movement. The front desk confirmed on that side only 2 rooms are occupied, 150 and 151. There was a pizza delivered to room 151. With the pizza delivery guy's help, officers learned that this was not the room of Vicky and Casey. Their room was 150. Casey and Vicky saw on the news the Ford F-150 is discovered. They decided to leave the area. A woman in a wig and man in crutches leave the room, surprised the officers. On May 9th, as police moved in, Vicky and Casey made a run for it in a gray Cadillac. During the chase, Vicky called 911 and said, "Let's get out and run," and "Please stop, airbags are going to go off and kill us. We should have stayed in the blinking hotel." Did she know the 911 call actually connects, or did it accidentally connect because of the commotion? A high-speed chase ripped through the streets, ending when their car collided with a patrol vehicle and flipped into a ditch. Casey surrendered immediately, but Vicky was pinned inside, suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Vicky was rushed to the hospital for her injuries, but was pronounced dead at Deaconess Hospital in Evansville, Indiana, hours after the crash. Later reports revealed a chilling pact they had made. If caught, Vicky would take her own life, and Casey would go down in a shootout with police. For 11 days, they had managed to evade capture across 6 states. an incredible feat, but one that ended in the most tragic way possible. Inside their getaway car, police found a strange collection of items: 4 handguns, an AR-15, wigs, camping gear, survival supplies, and $29,000 in cash. This was likely part of the $90,000 Vicky had withdrawn from her bank accounts before the escape, her entire life savings. She was later buried at Center Hill Cemetery in Lexington, Alabama, her hometown, with nearly 200 people attending her funeral. Her former supervisor, Jason Butler, tried to reconcile the woman he knew with the fugitive she became. He said, "I choose to focus on the Vicky I know. She was a good friend and a good colleague for 16 years. We're hoping for closure and healing." This brings us to the question that haunts everyone who followed this case. Did Casey White really love Vicky White? Or was this a case of masterful manipulation? Those who knew Vicky are deeply divided. Her friend, D.A. Burbank, stated bluntly, "Vicky's love was real. Casey didn't care about her, not one bit." Another colleague agreed, saying, if he really loved her, he'd never have put her in that position. But others saw it differently. Casey's cellmate believed their connection was genuine, calling it an inseparable love. Casey can be heard on police dashcam as he was lead away from the crash say, "Please check on my wife. Make sure my wife is okay. Check on my wife. And please, my wife, that's the best woman in the world right there." He asked officers numerous times to check on Vicky. So, what do you think? He recalled a tender moment during their time on the run, saying, "She laid out new clothes for me. I hugged her and told her I loved her. That was the best night ever." He insisted his love was real, declaring, "She was my wife, not by faith laws, but by mine." After Vicky's death, the legal fallout for Casey was swift. He was initially charged with her murder, under the logic that she died during the commission of a felony he was involved in. However, he later pleaded guilty to first-degree escape, and the murder charge was dropped. He was sentenced to life in prison and banned from ever contacting Vicky's family. At his sentencing, Casey addressed the court saying, "I feel like the most hated man in the world. Vicky was the first person to show me affection. I want to apologize for taking her away from her family." Today, Casey White is serving his sentence at a maximum security prison in Alabama. He won't be eligible for parole until 2081. The story doesn't quite end there. In the months that followed, Casey made bizarre claims, including confessing to a murder in Evansville to a reporter, Brian Enton, that authorities could find no evidence of, which his own lawyers dismissed as lies. Marcus Helstowski, Casey's defense attorney, proof with DNA on the weapon that Casey did not murder Connie Ridgway in 2015. That conviction was overturned. Why would Casey confess to crimes he did not commit? Bizarre, isn't it? So, what are we left with? A decorated corrections officer who threw away her life, her career, and her reputation for a convicted felon. Was she a victim of a master manipulator who saw her as a ticket to freedom? Or was she a woman who, for the first time, felt a love so powerful that she was willing to risk everything for just a few days of freedom with the man she loved? The truth may have died with Vicky White in that ditch in Evansville, leaving us with more questions than answers. What do you think happened? Was it true love or a tragic deception? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as compelling as I did, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into fascinating cases. We'll see you in the next one.